Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back with Casper Reflexology. Very excited to have our friend Laura Johnson here to talk today about all the ways she can help us, including reflexology and so much more. Laura, please introduce yourself to our listeners today.
Well, nice to be with you all again. I've been doing reflexology and other holistic type therapies since about 2012. I am certified in the Inga method of reflexology, and that is presented or taught by the International Institute of Reflexology. And one of their founding people, a lady named Eunice Ingham, is the one that actually developed the reflexology system that we all use today. So I'm very proud to be part of that organization. Additionally, I do myofascial release, which is a work with the fascia in the body. I do essential oils and aromatherapy. I do Reiki and feather tapping and a lot of other holistic therapy treatments, they're calling them these days. These are considered alternative or complementary to what your medical doctor does for you.
Fantastic. And just to point out, you're located where specifically? You're in Wyoming?
I am in Wyoming. Casper is our main city. I'm in a little town called Evansville, which would probably equate to a suburb. Casper has about 52,000 people, and I think Evansville has about 20.
Got it.
So, it's, I don't know. I shouldn't quote that number. I really don't know how many people are here in Evansville, but it's a wonderful community, a wonderful part of the country. I love Wyoming. I retired from what I call my day job here. Gosh, in 11, that gets really weird when I think about how long that's been. And I just had to stay. It's just beautiful up here.
Great. So for today's show, I think you wanted to talk mostly about reflexology. Do you want to start off with telling us what that is exactly and go over some of the things that we should know, the benefits of it, how it works? Please feel free to share whatever information you want.
Okay, I'll be glad to do that. Reflexology works primarily with feet and the hands, and some people do ears, and it's my understanding some people do reflexology on anything that would equate to an acupuncture point. But the Reflexology Association of itself usually just concentrates on the hands and feet. Reflexology helps to improve the functions of your organs and your glands and your systems, whereas massage primarily works on the soft tissue. So there is a very distinct difference. Obviously, massage people work on your back and other things besides your feet as well. So, in a nutshell, reflexology works on the functions of the body, where massage works on the structure of the body. So again, these are very complementary to each other, and very beneficial no matter which way you use them. But the reflexology definition, and I have that here because I don't want to, well, I thought I did. Give me just a second.
Sure.
Okay, in reflexology, instead of a push and a pull type function, we use what they call more like a light switch, an on-off pressure on the reflex points. Eunice Ingham, as I had mentioned before, is actually the one that mapped the foot, that said your toes relate to your head, your spine relates to the instep of the foot. Of course, all of the nerves come down through the spine. The body is related. The right foot is related to the right foot of the body.
Mhm.
So for example, your liver reflex is only going to be on the right foot. Your heart reflex is only going to be on the left foot because that's on the left side of the body. Where else was I going with this? We work in more like a light switch, an on-off pressure on those reflex points to help generate and stimulate the energy and the impulses up through the nervous system. We can use this for a lot of things. One of my very first clients many, many years ago was an elderly gentleman. And when I first started working on his feet, it was like working on concrete, trying to get through to the reflexes itself. And we worked probably 3 times a week for 2 or 3 weeks, and then twice a week for a few more weeks. And by the time we had accomplished that, I felt like I was working on hard wood instead of concrete. So sometimes it does take a while to get through the tissues of the foot to actually get to the reflexes. I was working at a retirement community at that time, and the staff there noticed how much better his balance was, how much easier he was walking. And I said, tell him, not me, because he's ready to give up, because it does take a long time and it does get expensive. I admit that. Insurance does not currently cover reflexology in too many areas. A lot of the flexible spending accounts will allow you to charge on those cards. I've had some of those go through. I do know the VA is working on bringing in reflexology, but they're bringing that in through their physical therapist people itself. Other things that we use reflexology for, I've been very successful with people with urinary tract incontinence. They tell me they don't leak as much. It's much more comfortable. It's more time between leakage. And here again, the more you work on the reflex, the more time you get and the less leakage you get. So again, it's over time that some of these things take. I can't tell you how much time it's going to take because you never really know. It's just a matter of working with it. And, all of a sudden, one day it might be a month before you have to come back and see me. I'm trying to, let's see what else I've got for what we use reflexology for. It's good for the other part of your body too, constipation and diarrhea. We can here again, we work with the organs and the systems of the body. Those particular parts of the body, for example, the digestive system, of course, is in your small intestines and your large intestines. So they go around the mid part of the foot. The colon and things like that are at the heel of your foot, at the base of the heel of your foot there, but there are some very important reflex points. One is called the ileocecal valve, and that's where the things go from your intestines to your colon. So if you're having intestinal or colon problems, we would use that. The ileocecal valve is also very interesting because it controls all of the fluid or water in your body. Whether you realized or not, you have moisture in your eyes, you have moisture in your mouth, you have moisture in your colon, and that's what deals with either the constipation or the diarrhea. So we also use that ileocecal valve if we're treating for, I have to call them seasonal irritations. The FDA does not, because I'm not a doctor, I don't diagnose, I'm not allowed to say that we treat it for sinuses and colds and things like that. But here again, your sinuses and your mucus and your colds, those are all related to the liquids in your body. So we would use the ileocecal for that. There are points on your feet. This is to me a funny story too. It might not be so funny to anybody else, but just after I had my first class, I got a call from a lady who said, my doctor says I'm pregnant and I'm overdue. And my doctor says you can bring on labor. Kind of
Ah,
chuckled. And I said, well, I'm out of town right now, which I was. I says, if you haven't delivered by Tuesday when I get back in town, call me again. So I never heard from her again. So I assumed that she delivered. But yes, so there are, I don't know if you call them ramifications, but there are issues if you are pregnant. We have to be careful. We would not reflex those areas that would be affecting delivery or anything like that. But there are processes and procedures. There are particular reflex points where if you are overdue, we can use these to help the body bring on the labor. I've never done it. Haven't had the opportunity.
yeah.
But you know, it can be done. But at the same time, you know, we can talk about other women's issues, the menopause, the PMS systems, the morning sickness when you're pregnant. We can use reflexology to help alleviate all of those symptoms. I wanted to talk, if I can, a little bit more about the difference between reflexology and massage.
Sure.
A lot of massage therapists also claim they do reflexology. They do foot massage probably 90% of the time because they use their massage techniques, the pushing and pulling of the muscles on the foot. And that's very good. It always feels good to have your feet worked on.
Yeah.
Our feet, you know, really take a lot of abuse, if you will, with the walking and the running. It's really difficult to treat a foot injury because it's so hard to stay off of your feet.
Yeah.
We have special techniques for things like plantar fasciitis and other foot issues that we can do. One of my instructors from the International Institute of Reflexology, her name is Lori Azzarella, and she's out of Alabama, but she has combined reflexology and essential oils to help treat again if we were doing, for example, a head cold or seasonal discomforts, where we can use complementary essential oils on those reflex points and help establish a more unique connection in the body and give you faster relief from some of those things. We can use reflexology is very good for things like shoulder issues, back and neck pain. One of my other instructors, who's out of California, was in an accident and had whiplash.
Yeah.
Well, she's kind of lucky because her mom was also a reflexologist.
Oh, wow.
But the doctor put her in a neck brace and said, you know, we're not going to touch anything for X number of weeks. But her mom sat there and a couple of times a day worked the reflex points for the whiplash. And by the time she got in for her first physical therapy treatment from the doctor, the therapist is going, I can't believe that your injury is only, you know, a couple of weeks old, a couple of months old. The tissues in the neck had responded. It brings down the inflammation. Excuse me. And consequently, if you bring down the inflammation, you bring down the swelling and the pain and things like that. So it's very beneficial overall for a lot of things that we usually don't think about when we think about reflexology.
Wow. And just a little of your background I want to get into. We got to take a quick commercial break here first. But for new listeners each and every week, I think it's important to talk about a little bit of your background, how you got here, your experience, credentials. Tell us the best forms of contact for you, please.
My phone number is 307-724-0448. And my email or my website is casperreflexology.com. That's probably the easiest way to get me.
Perfect. Stay tuned. We'll take that quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Did you know that holistic therapies treat the whole person, body, mind, spirit, and emotions? Come into Casper Reflexology and Spa and let me show you how Reiki, reflexology, myofascial release, and even aromatherapy can release trapped emotions, fears, and anxieties that may be causing you physical pain and stress. Call 307-724-0448 or CasperReflexology.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free fix finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician verified fixes. The free fix finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back to the show. Laura Johnson joining us here today from CasperReflexology.com. That's our website. And before we continue, would you mind just giving us a little bit of your background for new listeners out there that may not know?
Okay, sure. I started my involvement with the holistic or the alternative therapies back in the mid 80s and 90s when I lived in Kansas City, Missouri. I have my Reiki master from back then. I studied my aromatherapy and stuff mostly after I've gotten here. One of the things that kind of want to diverse just a little bit here, the I can't call them the legal requirements, but all of the states have different regulations and licensing for reflexology and massage and aromatherapy and who can touch what parts of the bodies for estheticians and things like that. So, you know, it's important for your users to know if they're calling for a reflexologist, they may or may not be licensed, but they should be certified. The certification comes from the schools. And there are a number of good schools around. The one that I went to is located in St. Petersburg, Florida, and you can go there and take all of your training at once, but usually they do weekend seminars and they teach in, you know, level 1, level 2, level 3, and then you get your certification. My school requires recertification every 2 years. I have to take continuing education credits for that. And the reflexology continuing education credits, if you take through someone like my teacher, Lori Azzarello, she is licensed to give CE credits for nurses and all kinds of different people who need continuing education credits in the medical field. So that's something, you know, if people are a little bit interested in getting their continuing education credits in something different, they might want to consider reflexology. I've also had training in feather tapping, which is a Native American spiritual healing process. They do heal physical as well as emotional issues, but it's considered more of a spiritual cleansing. One of the things people in my field usually believe is that, you know, your physical body ailments could be caused by emotional or spiritual issues. If you have other conflicts within your body, they can manifest as physical type things. I do chakra clearings. I do past life regressions. I do them a little bit differently because, well, I don't know how many people do them the way I do, but I kind of take you on a journey to another life. And then it's kind of like you're in a movie and you tell me what's going on in that life, as opposed to me telling you, you know, well, back in the, you know, in the Middle Ages, you were so-and-so. So I really enjoy that. For the people locally here, most of what I do, I actually need the physical body to work on. I can do Reiki at a distance, healing, but I have a beautiful meditation garden when spring comes that we go outside to do most of the therapies. Yep. So do you have anything else specific that you wanted about my background?
No, I just think it's important for people to know a little bit about you and this and how you got involved because, it's your career, it's your passion, and you're an expert in this field that we're learning from. So it's always good to find out where the person's from and how it all came about. And of course, their experience. Of course, that matters, right?
Right. And I mean, it's been a long road. It all hasn't happened overnight. Like I said, I started in Kansas City. I went from there to Boston, where I had some healing training and a little bit of aromatherapy. I worked there. I went to Huron, South Dakota, where I did a little bit of the Reiki. I was in Billings, Montana, where I was first introduced to reflexology. And I did my Reiki up there. I worked with Reiki practitioners, and I came down here, and it just kind of grew a little bit at a time. And all of the things that I do, I find are very complementary to each other as well. When you come in to see me, more than likely, you will get more than reflexology. You will probably get a little bit of myofascial release because, again, we have to get to the fascia to help release some of those things. You might get a little bit of Reiki just because it's what your body needs that day. Other times you might get some aromatherapy. So it all, to me, it works very well together because they all kind of have the same tendency to bring down the swelling and the inflammation and the anxiety, which is what helps the body heal itself.
Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing. All right. We still have some time left here. So Laura, what else do you want to share about the work you do? Because there's clearly a lot to it besides the reflexology, but a lot of different techniques and modalities.
Well, I have, like legalities, like I said, some states put reflexology under the massage regulations. Some states have a separate one. Separate regulations. Now, Wyoming, I'm kind of lucky because they don't regulate too much. They don't regulate the reflexology. They don't have state licensure for massage. A few cities have put in licensing for massage in the last couple of years. But it's, like I said, it's very important to check out the credentials of the people that you work with. I am an ordained minister, which doesn't come up very often, but part of the Reiki or the feather tapping that you go through with your spiritual adjustments, being an ordained minister is a very important part of being able to do that kind of stuff. Like I said, you can find reflexology schools all over the country. I like the ones where you go different places to learn and you have different teachers to learn from. That way you get, different opinions on things. And it's always a better experience for me to have more than one teacher.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
And reflexology, clearly it's a hands-on business, but you mentioned like the other things, Reiki and all. So you can work with people energy healing. Could you do it via Zoom or over the phone? What types of modalities? No? Or
I could do Zoom or over the phone. What I've done before, especially with my Reiki, you can have a surrogate. We can just arrange to be in a peaceful setting. We can be on the phone. I can talk to you, or we can just, the energy goes through the universe. So we just have to have a common time and place to know that you are there in a receiving mode for what I am doing. But yeah, Zoom is kind of new for me. But yes, that would be an excellent way to do it. I mean, I remember one time I was in Billings, Montana. I was working on one of the people in our group that we were working Reiki with. And the next thing I knew, I was envisioning my mother there on the table. And instead of working on this other lady's leg, I was working on my mom's leg. So, you can use a surrogate. They talk about giving energy, Reiki energy, like to a stuffed animal. So it just depends upon the people involved and what makes them comfortable.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, it's funny because my aunt, I live in New York. My aunt's in New Jersey. When I was young, she still does part-time. She has an office in her house. She does reflexology, but I never really understood it. I never had her work on me because we lived 3 hours away. And over the
Yeah.
years, she would always talk to my mom about it on the phone, about how she was always begging my mom to come, but it was a long drive and the benefits of it and how it could help you. My mom had serious like anxiety. I think it was relationship issues though with my father, but still, um,
Yeah,
it could be calming to someone's mind and right.
right. And well, anytime you take 30 or 60 minutes out of your day just for you to relax and be you, it's going to relieve some of that anxiety. One of the little pictures on my website says, do you view your health as an investment or an expense? And I think we need to start learning and looking more to investing in our health
Yeah.
and our emotional as well as our physical health, because they are all related.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting, to have you here, getting to know more about you. CasperReflexology.com. If they want to reach out, is there an initial consultation? How does it work?
I do have a 30-minute free consultation.
Okay.
I have military and first responder discounts, and that includes your dependents and retired and the whole shooting match. I really have a place in my heart for those people that put themselves out there for the rest of us, and I want to give back to them too. I charge by the hour because, again, you usually get a combination of services.
Yeah.
Unless you come in and say, I only want you to do aromatherapy.
Got it.
Then
Mhm.
I can turn off the Reiki, if you will, but because Reiki is a hands-on a touch therapy, it kind of automatically comes on anytime I touch
Got
people,
it.
whether it's doing reflexology or myofascial or aromatherapy.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here, for joining us. And one more time, CasperReflexology.com. What is your phone number?
307-724-0448.
Perfect. And CasperReflexology.com. Tell Laura we sent you. And you have
Thank
a
you.
fantastic weekend. Thank you for the discussion today. Always a good one.
Thank you, Jill. Talk
Thank
to you
you.
next week.
You got to have a great day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.